Hello everyone. Today I will be doing a comparison between Fedora and Ubuntu. I will compare and contrast the underlying philosophy and paradigm for each distro, as well as how the user experience is like. It will not be a video talking down on either distribution, but rather my take on which distro would be better. With that out of the way, let's begin. Firstly, let's look at package management. Ubuntu uses the app package manager while Fedora uses DNF, and they use dev and RPM formats respectively. Both do the job well, but from my experience, app always seems faster than DNF. Fedora is working on an update for a faster version of DNF, but as of now it's not ready yet. In this section, Ubuntu is better in the sense that if you're looking for a particular popular piece of software for Linux, you would be more likely to find a dev package rather than an RPM one. When it comes to the number of packages, both are practically on par with each other. Ubuntu has around 60,000 packages, while Fedora numbers are around 70,000. In relation to third-party applications, Ubuntu allows the use of PPAs or personal package archives. They allow you to upload Ubuntu source packages to be built and published as an app repository. This makes it very easy to install software that is not in the official repos. The process is quite easy with only 2 commands, adding the PPA and then updating the repository list. Fedora, on the other hand, has things like the RPM Fusion repos, as well as the Fedora Copper and the OpenSUSE build service, which allows people to create packages and put them into repositories. You should know though that by default, Fedora repos don't have apps like Spotify, Discord, VS Code and other proprietary applications. You will need to use something like other sources. The next section will pertain to release cycles and support. Ubuntu is both an LTS along with an interim release. The interim releases are maintained for only 9 months, but the LTS or long-term releases are maintained for 5 years, with new releases for the LTS arriving every 2 years. In the case of Fedora, it is a shorter release cycle of every 6 months and provides support for only 13 months. Fedora releases packages in a semi-rolling release format. Certain major upgrades are held back while other packages are updated frequently. With this cycle, you have a sort of lose-lose scenario. You lose the stability or static nature of something like Ubuntu, as the frequent update to some packages increases the likelihood of compatibility issues, whilst at the same time you don't even get the benefits of rolling releases like Arch for feature and security updates. Though these flaws don't make Fedora an inherently bad distribution, they do contribute to its reputation of being less stable than its static release counterparts. Ubuntu has the largest and most active Linux community in the world, with thousands of volunteers not only on its own forums but also on sites like Reddit. It's the second largest distro subreddit at around 230,000 members. This is almost double the size of the Fedora subreddit, which is at 100,000 members. Both communities do provide good support and help for their users, but when it comes to size, Ubuntu is by far much larger. The next section will be security. Both distributions have a reputation of being secure thanks to their strict release process, extensive testing, and regular security updates. A neat fact is that Ubuntu is certified by the US Department of Defense for its security practices, and Fedora runs SELinux, which was built by the NSA. So if you trust the US government, then you are in good hands with both of these. Going back to SELinux, a mandatory access control, Ubuntu uses another form of MAC called AppArmor. MAC, or mandatory access control, essentially means that every action a program could perform that affects the system in any way is checked against a security rule set. This rule set cannot be modified by users. Using virtually any mandatory access control system will significantly improve the security of your computer, although there are differences in how it can be implemented. Fedora uses the SELinux implementation, while Ubuntu, as mentioned earlier, uses AppArmor. SELinux provides more robust control than something like AppArmor. It does this thanks to its more fine-grained policy controls. The drawback though is that sometimes this can break certain functions. It will also make it harder to maintain and configure servers that are using SELinux, while AppArmor is very user-friendly. With SELinux, you need to create and manage detailed access control lists for each process or thread running within an application. This can lead to a large number of security policies being created, making it difficult to maintain and debug. If you were just starting out with policy management, you would find using something like SELinux too overwhelming. AppArmor also uses less overhead as compared to SELinux. This is because SELinux having additional context switching required by its mandatory access control model. In practice, this means that AppArmor tends to be more responsive and efficient in terms of system resources compared to SELinux. AppArmor's policy enforcement is also more forgiving when it comes to accidental permission mistakes. In the event that an application attempts to access a resource for which it has not been granted permission, AppArmor will typically deny access but still allow the system to continue running smoothly. SELinux, on the other hand, can become increasingly restrictive and inflexible if its policies are not carefully managed, leading to potential denial of service situations or crashes. AppArmor has gained traction with a lot of other distributions due to its simplicity and effectiveness. It's widely supported not just on Ubuntu, but also Debian and Arch. SELinux, though, is used more for specialized security environments and less so for smaller scale deployments and personal use. For the next section, we will see what desktop environments each distro provides. Fedora supports multiple environments, but it tends to focus more on Gnome due to its community involvement and upstream support. Ubuntu has a lot of flavors as well. They both have their own versions and community editions. They have popular environments like KDE and XFCE, along with other more unique ones. Here, both provide a plethora of options when it pertains to choosing a particular spin or edition. When it comes to Gnome, I personally prefer the look and feel that Ubuntu has. It feels more polished with a very attractive and uniform color scheme. In Fedora, the Gnome experience can be defined as being more raw and basic, due to it not having much customization out of the box. This is not necessarily a bad thing, as it allows us to configure things ourselves. But this may be a little less appealing for people who just want a beautiful system as soon as they install it. When it comes to gaming, Ubuntu has a dedicated team that provides support just for this. Fedora, on the other hand, does not have the same kind of comprehensive support as Ubuntu does for gaming. Also, certain codecs are not available by default in Fedora, as it follows a strict rule on using only free and open source software. Fedora has a reputation of being early adopters to both Wayland and Pipewire. When Fedora 25 was released in 2016, it marked a significant milestone for the distribution. It became one of the first major Linux distros to switch from X11 to Wayland as the default display server. At that time, Wayland and its companion technologies like Pipewire was still in an early stage of development. As a consequence, many Fedora users encountered several issues. Back then, Wayland had many problems like occasional crashes and freezes. NVIDIA support was practically non-existent, and many programs that were written for X did not run at all. Wayland was created to address this issue and is still being used for some apps to this date. Pipewire 2, when it first came out, had issues with detecting USB speakers or headsets. There were also issues with echoing and stability problems. These bugs over the years have been addressed and most of them have been remedied. But nonetheless, there are still a lot of issues pertaining to the Wayland protocol. And as of right now, it's still not ready to replace X11 completely. Ubuntu adopted Wayland later when most of the issues were fixed, so it did not run into as many problems as Fedora did. And Ubuntu still ships with an X11 version for Gnome, while Fedora will soon ship with only Wayland. In conclusion, after doing my research for this video on both Ubuntu and Fedora, I feel that Ubuntu is a better distribution. I say so because I think Ubuntu does a better job when it comes to package management and software availability. Moreover, the longer support and release cycles makes it more convenient for people who just want to install the operating system and not worry about major upgrades every year. Taking this into consideration, as well as the ease of use of AppArmor, I would have to say that for regular everyday usage, Ubuntu would be the preferred choice. Both Ubuntu and Fedora are terrific distributions with a lot of their own merits. Fedora is considered one of the most secure distributions in the world with a large and supportive community. And Ubuntu is considered one of the most polished distributions in the Linux world. Furthermore, on the surface, both are very beginner-friendly to use and maintain, with a lot of depth as you delve deeper into the intricacies of each distribution. All in all, I would not mind recommending either Fedora or Ubuntu as a distribution. Anyway, that concludes my video for today. If you have any arguments for Ubuntu or in favor of Fedora, please leave them in the comments. I will look into them, and if I find anything substantial, I will address it in a subsequent video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.